Music, one of life's greatest pleasures, has tremendous power. The power to bring a tear to the eye or quiet a racing mind. Music also has the power to heal and has been used through the ages to treat depression, create energy, induce sleep, relieve chronic pain, reduce stress, and even cure diseases. And now, musician and author Michael Tyrrell has created Whole Tones, the healing frequency music projects. These frequencies were studied in the music of King David and believed to have astounding healing effects. Now you can benefit from this revitalized ancient healing music therapy simply by listening daily to this music in the comfort of your own home, car, or office. Reward yourself with the gift of healing and transformation. Don't miss this opportunity to get an absolutely free sample of this music so that you can begin benefiting right away. Just visit WholeTonesLive.com and get a free sample of these soothing, relaxing, revitalizing musical tones. Visit WholeTonesLive.com today for your free sample. That's WHOLETONES Live.com. WholeTonesLive.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio, a show featuring people and companies who are making a positive contribution to the world. This show will help you learn how to apply success principles in every area of your life so that you can make the most out of your skills and talents and accomplish more of your goals. To find out more about the show, please visit www.journeytosuccessradio.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio. You can read more about the show at www.journeytosuccessradio.com. My name is Peter Goral, Vice President of Business Development and Client Relations for TechBlocks, a company designed to help small, medium, and enterprise companies optimize their business in the digital world. A great example of the kind of work we do is the development of self-serve portals that empower our clients' customers by giving them online access to content and information that they'd ordinarily have to dig deeper for through traditional channels of inquiry and call centers. Our special guest today is Alexander Gray, the President and CEO of Skylight Global Incorporated, a world-class real estate investment and online marketing firm. Alexander's success has been featured in publications such as the International Herald Tribune, the New York Times, Toronto Star, and the Financial Times. His personal achievements have also been featured as a success story in Wealth Builder magazine. Alexander's a great guest speaker to the graduating students of Ryerson University's Entrepreneurship program in Toronto, Canada. His visits have helped students understand real-world marketing, as exemplified by his company's successes for branding and consumer recognition. For real estate investing, Alexander has concentrated his company's efforts in the foreclosure markets of Las Vegas, New York City, and Florida during the recession. However, Skylight Global has prominence in global markets, focusing on national-wide opportunities for its long-term investment strategy. Alexander is also involved in building online membership sites, mobile apps, and offering search engine optimization services for the clients of Skylight Global Marketing and Skylight Global Productions, using the many facets of Skylight Global to unleash his creativity as a hallmark of Alexander's personality. With his new position in Internet Marketing Association's International Executive Committee, Alexander aims to expand his knowledge of marketing in the digital frontier by connecting with the many professionals who engage at IMA's events. He is excited to promote IMA to Canadian entrepreneurs and expand the activities of the IMA to a broader international audience. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Peter. Pleasure to be here.
Wow, I'm telling you, what a roster of things. You're starting to sound like me. You got so many things on the go. I'm sure you have lots to talk about. Perhaps for the case of, for the audience's sake, you'd tell us maybe a little bit about Skylight itself and how that business came about, and maybe some of the premise of the business.
Absolutely, Peter. Skylight Global is the brainchild that I developed many years ago when I was really focusing on trying to change my career path. I was mostly involved in the health and fitness industry for many years, and as I emerged from that, a lot of it had to do with marketing, and was very familiar with that, especially when you run a health club. The guerrilla marketing, online marketing. Later on, of course, back in the 90s, having a website was more like having a website brochure type of website.
Right.
So, yeah, so I was looking at different ways, and I found a unique opportunity. And as you mentioned in the intro there, the real estate side, and that was actually what kicked off Skylight Global. Mainly at the time, we call it Skylight Global Investments because we weren't really a slick type of marketing company at the time. We were just focusing on finding investments for our real estate buyers to purchase. And so I found an opportunity marketing direct to sellers, and again, using my health club background. That's where all that knowledge kind of flooded in. Door knockers, postcards, flyers, all of those types of marketing tactics all came into play. And this time, instead of focusing it, for finding gym clients, it was more for, as I mentioned, to find real estate sellers. We did campaigns for buyers too. They tend to hang out in the same markets. Buyers like to buy usually around where they live sometimes, and so we did some campaigns that way as well. But Skylight Global came about at first as a real estate investment company, and that was something that I thought I could dive deep into because real estate can be done in so many different ways. It's as Donald Trump would say, how's real estate? It's always good.
True. The thing is, it seems like such a long way from owning a health club to the kind of business that Skylight Global is. I mean, that's a huge path. I mean, that you talked specifically about what I consider to be marketing 101 projects, the static things. But how did you traverse to your current online state?
Well, it didn't happen overnight. It was definitely a elongated process. It really started with other people asking me, hey, how did you do your website, or how did you get that IDX feed onto your website? How did you do that? And there was an opportunity there because I was working with some great people, obviously, at the time, and we all got together and said, we can actually charge for these services. So, going from real estate to marketing services, and we still do real estate investing. We do there every day. There's a deal in the door every day. Literally 7 days a week. I'm looking at 5 or 6 deals a day that come in from our marketing efforts. It's wonderful. But the marketing side of it, the pure SEO and pay-per-click and website development and brand recognition and public relations, that came about very slowly. That was just simply by people inquiring, can you do this for me? And when we got together, we decided, this could be a great thing. And we went ahead and did marketing for it and got clients in and kept growing. And as you mentioned in the intro as well, our affiliation with the Internet Marketing Association has just completely skyrocketed our reach and our ability to promote those services as well. So it didn't happen overnight. It was the what they call the 7-year overnight success story.
I usually say it takes about 10 years, to really be comfortable with an overnight success. That's for sure. But the components, when I look at all the components associated with your business. And the geographies that are involved, Las Vegas, New York City. Tell us a little bit more about that, how you even got involved into those territories.
It was pure inspiration, just looking at other people who have been walking that path already. I took courses. I didn't just jump into real estate. I had to study, I had to learn, and I had mentors who were investing in other areas, and I simply followed their lead. These were places that I was somewhat familiar with, particularly Florida and New York, because they're on the Eastern Standard Time and East Coast. I travel these places frequently, and I found that I could own those markets. Not own them, but just get a dent in the foreclosure market for those places. Some of them they ebb and flow, they rise, they fall. The markets are great for certain types of investing strategies. But what really captured me was the fact that you can change your focus. You can change your abilities in each market. Some days you want to buy and hold. Some days you want to buy and flip. Some days you want to renovate. Some days you just want to sell the contract. It all depends on the state of the market. So I found that by spreading myself out into those different areas, it just allowed me to ride through those downtimes. Because sometimes Vegas would be hot. It would be hot. And then it becomes saturated again because everybody and their uncle wants to flip houses in Vegas. But over in Florida, in Miami-Dade County, there's still always going to be competition, but not so much. So I was able to jump over to that market. And when you have everything set up already, when you have your agents, your investors, other people that you do business with, your lead sources all set up already, it's literally just a flip of the switch to go from one market to the other. And you just keep your eye on the markets and the trends and allow yourself to be educated about what's going on around you. That's the key.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, obviously, like you say, you took courses, you had to learn. I mean, when I think about getting, what shall we say, getting up and at it with the nuances of the market, because I mean, those markets have been shifting over the years. Well, I mean, it's so difficult to try and understand it. It's almost like trying to run a bunch of stocks at a broker's house, I would imagine. Do you liken it to that, or is it a different play?
It's a different play, my friend. It's a different play. I would say when you're in real estate, in the game that I'm playing, what we would call the wholesalers market, you're Costco. You're not the end buyer.
Okay.
You're not the one fixing up the properties and renting them out. You're Costco. You're the one that's going to get stuff at wholesale and sell at wholesale prices. That's that's the game that I'm playing. So, right. And of course there's, all the controversies and laws, and again, you learn to navigate with it. And with every change and challenge that comes from lawmakers and decision makers about the kind of practice that we do in real estate comes more opportunities. That's what people don't get. They say, oh, I guess you shut down ever since they passed that law regarding short sales or whatever. You sit there and say, oh, that's fine. When that door closed, 3 other doors opened. It's not a big deal. You just have to know the game you're in and follow up and be part of the community as well. So I make a point of connecting with other investors and sharing tactics and strategies that have worked and looking at trends like the way you mentioned, as in a very educated kind of way. But never do we lock ourselves in like a stock where we buy it, we own it, we're stuck with it. We have to wait until it changes. We don't play that game. And different market conditions will dictate to what degree and extent we can do that. But even today, after that big recession in 2008, we still are finding the similar types of opportunities today. It still can be done. It comes down to your ability to know your market, know your contracts, and know the game you're playing. Understand that you're in sales and understand that you're in marketing more so than anything else. And that's the underpin of all the things that I'm doing right now. If it's a real estate endeavor, a marketing service, or a product that we're going to create and launch, the underpinning of all of it is marketing, and that is something. It's a consistent theme when I go to do interviews. That's what I ask. That's when people ask me how do I do it. I simply boil my entire business down to a marketing venture. That's what. That's the.
I'd have to agree with you. I'm of that same mind. I actually have some friends in the Florida market. They classify themselves as snowbirds because they go down for winter and then come back to Muskoka for summer. And I remember visiting them back when the market took a tipple, and they actually locked in and bought something that was for half price. And I saw the empty lots around them and the empty homes around them. But I've seen quite a difference in the last few years. Some of that is starting to spring back. What's your thoughts on the market the way it is right now in Florida?
There's definitely an appreciation, and you'll find that when you get hyper local, those prices can change block to block, county to county, and you have to know your marketplace. I definitely recommend never buying blind. You have to know how even one simple change to a street sign can affect the values. Going right across the railroad tracks, a school zone coming into play. All of these things are extremely important and we'll bat it in your head again. Location, location, location. You have to know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, from that perspective, from a snowbird's perspective, I wouldn't say that so much for a flipper. I would say that more for people who are going to buy and hold for a significant amount of time.
Right.
But when it comes to those projects, if you're not going to rent the property out or turn it into a commercial aspect and you're going to hold it for yourself, hold it for yourself. Don't sit there and make a business out of it unless you are going to actually charge for your property in some way. You know, and you're going to ride the appreciation. Well, good luck, because you don't know. You have no idea what's going to happen in 20 years. So don't bank on it that way. Bank on it from the perspective that you'll get personal enjoyment from it. That's the way the holding side would look from a snowbird's perspective.
That sounds like some great advice. Tell me, on a personal note, I mean, how the hell do you keep your sanity running on? I know the way I work, but I'm thinking about somebody else. I'm interested to know what your personal aspects are on how you keep your sanity running so many businesses under the Skylight Global brand.
Comes down to great people. You know, I have really wonderful people working with me, and I'm blessed to have them in my life. That's number one. And it's not just the people within the Skylight Global team. It's, of course, my wife who makes sure that I'm at my best every day. And, you know, I definitely say that every day you have to be on. And to be on means certain things. It means that your body has to be ready. It means that your mind has to be alert. And it means that your happiness, your general feeling of who you are has to be maintained. I find that regular exercise, is something that keeps me sane and keeps me calm and ready. So, you know, I have a very good regimen. I lift my weights 4 days a week. I have my martial arts training every day. I take a day off once a week. I definitely focus in on the person that I am, and that allows me then to give more, to be who I am and do what I do. And I didn't know this at first because I was a novice. When I was a novice, I thought me, give. I want. Right. But that quickly shifted when I saw the game. It quickly shifted to, how can I serve people today? How can I do better today? And then you start asking the right questions. Well, what systems am I going to use on my computer to keep track of leads and make sure that I'm responding to each and every single one of them? How am I going to get on the phone with Peter to run this interview when I've got a million other things to do? You know, and I find that people are generally better, I'm not saying this for everybody, but people are generally better at monotasking than multitasking. And that was another key thing, was being able to say no just as much as, or more often than saying yes. And your ability
I find that really difficult. I know exactly. Boy, that resonated with me so quickly when you said that. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, because I just I thought, wow, he's talking my language. Like, I just wish I knew how sometimes to say no to some of the things that I'd love to help people with, because I think that when you do put yourself out like you do, and I do on a daily basis to help people move along, that there are those things that are going to get you bogged down in the weeds if you're not careful. How do you say no? Like, I mean, what kind of triggers are you using, psychologically to get you to say no properly?
Yes. So that comes from simply knowing what you're capable of doing and what your resources are. So it also comes down to education. But I think another element that we must cover when we talk about this, and it's something that I had to really consciously tell myself, so from the psychological perspective, is discipline. You must have discipline. You must be able to understand that even if something looks great on paper and it's put in front of you and it's ready to go, if you can't give it your full attention, you don't have, or you can't delegate it within your own team, and you can't do it, you have to say no. You can't just say yes and then try to shove it in on the weekends or evenings. You'll end up disappointing people, and you'll end up hurting people, and that's what I don't want to do. That's what I never want to do. So saying no is actually safety. It's actually a way for me to stay away from things that would eventually ruin my reputation or hurt somebody else's in that process. So I've been very careful of what what aspects of business I choose to do, and monotasking and using the right tools to keep track of everything that is happening within the business. And having Skylight Global as the back end brand to the marketing and the real estate and the production and the productions, all of that allows me to run it as one company instead of looking at them as separate brands and then saying I have to do separate marketing for each and every single one of these products. I found that it was almost an approach like how Google does it. Like there's Google Mail, Google Calendar, Google Drive. Everything is Google Google branded. That was kind of my inspiration for that as well.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. There's some great pointers on there that you gave about, sometimes you're doing a disservice to someone by saying yes when you know that you can't give them your undivided attention and you can't give them, really what they asked for. So, I mean, kudos for you for being smart enough to do that. And thank you on behalf of our audience for sharing that with us. That's really, really great. You are, I see this, I made note of the fact that you're involved with the graduating students at Ryerson University's Entrepreneurship program. That's fantastic. I myself am a mentor with Futurepreneur Canada, helping young people move along. I'm sure, I just got a feeling about just the way how passionate you are in talking about your business. I'm sure you have that same passion for youth and development of entrepreneurs. Tell us a little bit more how you give back in that area.
Yeah, and you must give back. If you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, you must give back. It's pretty much your duty. And that's, for me, stems from my years as a martial arts instructor as well in my teenage years, spending a lot of time with children and seeing how they grow and how just 2 words from your mouth can change their entire focus and how that flap of a butterfly wing can translate down the road to a mountain of success for them. So that I definitely understand the power in that, and because I've had great mentors in my life, I definitely understand the cyclical nature of being a mentor. But with respect to the students at Ryerson, I definitely am in touch with the professors in the entrepreneurship program, and I come in from time to time to network with them and take some on as interns and help them with projects that they're working on as well. I continue to mentor other people, previous students of mine that I've had, who even just today, I just came over for an hour to update me on how they're doing, what they're up to. I give feedback. I help them. I give them books to read. I help them stay on top of it. And I don't charge for any of that. It is just something that I do to make sure that there is a network of youth and a network of brilliance that is cultured around me, because you are the average of the people that are around you. And if you can't just find those people, you go and find them. If they're not around you immediately, go and seek them out. And I find that youth have tremendous energy, tremendous willpower, and if you can just teach them how to channel it, they'll be your best friends for life. And I've made some wonderful friends and colleagues in business just by doing this one thing, and it didn't cost me anything, and it worked out every single time.
That's phenomenal. Oh my God, that's fantastic. That's such great news. It's always inspiring to hear someone who is already successful in business, made their way, and is helping others make their way. I mean, quite frankly, I feel almost, that's my purpose. I mean, have you ever thought about what your own purpose in life is?
I'd like to. I'm just too busy living life. I mean, every day is a miracle. I open my eyes and I'm at it, and it's hard to really think. You just have to do. It's the philosophy of ready, fire, aim. I love that. Get up. Yeah, well, there's a book, Ready, Fire, Aim. Unfortunately, the author eludes me right now, but you'll find it very easily, and it's a book that you can read that kind of give you perspective on that as well. And later on, I'll share the author with you after this call, just to make sure that the audience maybe can have it in comments and where this broadcast is posted.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I want to give credit where credit is due, obviously.
Absolutely.
And so I do believe that that you're when you want to think about your purpose. I mean, my purpose is to do great things, and you can only do great things by giving back. So again, the cyclical nature, we talked about that earlier with having mentors and looking at people who you respect. Well, I believe that in order for you to be successful and to do those great things in life, whatever iteration they may be, you have to have the right mindset. It all comes back down to your mindset, because when you start with the right mindset, then you can grow into what one of my mentors said. Corey Boatwright would always tell me is the 3 M's. Mindset, mechanics, then money, and it's in that order for a reason. It's specifically those 3 M's in that order. And what people try to do is they tend to skip the mindset and say, "Look, I'm motivated. Being motivated is enough. Now take me to the mechanics and show me how I can do it all." And that's the biggest mistake they can make, because if you don't talk about discipline, if you don't talk about your character, about what motivates you, about what gets going in the morning, how do you stay fit? How do you stay on top of the news of your industry? How do you do it? If you don't have that right mindset when you wake up each and every day, mechanics aren't going to help you. You could buy the most expensive CRM in the world, and it won't help you.
Right,
okay?
Right.
That's it. So when you're discovering your purpose, going back to your purpose. So you talk about purpose. That is something that I've kind of shot through and discovered it, and then I'm just on the other side of it now, just living it. I'm living my purpose, which is a very different way of looking at what is your purpose. Because your purpose will change. Today, my purpose was to mentor. You talked about mentoring. That previous student of mine came over, and we had a great chat today. That was my purpose for the day. So it's twofold.
Very nice indeed. Now, you and I met about 3 weeks ago at the inauguration of the Internet Marketing Association in Canada. And of course, I was fortunate enough to have you reach out to me and invite me to that organization's inauguration. And because a good friend of mine, John Sticks from Fibernetics, was your guest speaker, which, you know as well as I do why I think so much of him, because he's such a great culture warrior. And I think he was the perfect guest speaker for the inauguration of the Internet Marketing Association, that's for sure. But tell us a little bit about how IMA came together in your life, and what compelled you to become its kind of front runner here in Canada. Tell us a little bit about that.
Indeed. Internet Marketing Association, I know everyone thinks it's only about marketing, and that is true. There is obviously a large component about marketing and what it can offer people who become members of IMA. But deep down at its core, when you break it down and you look at the way we interact with each other, when you look at the kind of events that we run, you'll see it's about people and it's about leadership. And I can't just talk IMA as a blank entity. It's about the people that I've connected with, namely the chairman, Sinan Kanatsas, who at first I didn't even know was the chairman of IMA when I met him. He was just a friend that I met in Las Vegas. Okay? We were actually neighbors at the famous city center. We both were at a homeowners association meeting, and we had a meet and greet, a gathering, and we got to know each other very well. And this was all before I had a clue who he was and what he was up to. It wasn't until much later that he said, "Hey, would you like to come on board?" So it was what got me involved first was just the appeal, again, going back to what's the first thing, it's mindset, right? Having the right mindset. Right. He has the right mindset. At the time that I met him, which was 7 years ago now, he definitely demonstrated to me leadership and true friendship first. He didn't want anything from me. He wasn't after me for anything. We hardly knew each other, and he just, was very warm and welcoming. And his wife Kai was just so wonderful, and we got to know them. And from that perspective, I was able to say, okay, whatever you're going to do, I want in. And when he said he's bringing his IMA, Internet Marketing Association events to Vegas and running them through City Center, I knew I had to be a part of it, and it was a no-brainer for me. So that is something that I've been supporting now for the last 5 years in a row. This will be my 5th year supporting them, and I haven't looked back. It was last year that Sinan approached me and said, by the way, we're going to start developing the regional groups of IMA. We want you to run Canada. I said, how about just Ontario? How about just the province of Ontario? Canada's like, it's a big landmass. You got the East Coast, you got the West Coast. In the States, you've got your East Coast, and you've got your central groups and so on. But no, he said, Canada, it's yours. Take it or leave it. I was like, all right. And it was a challenge, and I always respond to a good challenge like that. And I told you I'm very choosy about the projects I say yes and no to, and on this one I was definitely able to say yes, because for me, Internet Marketing Association represents the very best of who we are, and I think that the people that I've connected with have helped me grow so much. For me to bring that to Canada and give back to the people that I do business with, my clients, my colleagues, everybody that I work with. Including yourself, Peter. I just was so excited to bring that energy and momentum that I get from my involvement with IMA to Canada. I was just absolutely honored, and it was a no-brainer for me. I just got in there and said, yes, let's make it happen. So we worked to get this first event happening, which we just launched on June 18th. And finally, we got it launched, and now we're looking forward to running multiple events throughout the year, keeping everybody in touch with newsletters and other types of fun things that we can do, not just speeches and vendor tables, but maybe let's hit a round of golf. Let's do some fun things together.
Sense.
Well,
I think I think most successes that I've been attached to have been built by building an ecosystem, as it were, around you, and because you can't be everything to everyone, and it's great to be able to share skills and capabilities and education and thought leadership and all those types of things. And I definitely sense that about the IMA. I can tell you, frankly, my first experience with you in that event was spectacular. Because I made 2 or 3 really good hits in just people that were just good, solid people to talk to and confer with and exchange ideas with. And in fact, I think one of them I may end up working with, in collaboration on a project, because we just see eye to eye on so many things. So. I for one am a big supporter of this. By the way, while you were talking, I did look up the book Ready, Fire, Aim, and it's written by a chap by the name of Michael Masterson.
That's
Ready, Fire, Aim, 0 to 100 million in no time flat. Boy, oh boy.
And that's the one, and I recognize the author. Thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. Now, I would imagine that being involved in this in the IMA, I guess you actually traveled and you've tried to put this thing together, and it seems like it's rather unusual because it isn't just centered around marketing itself. It is, as you said, centered around all kinds of walks of life. Tell us about some of the crazy things that have happened to you as you've been involved with this organization, and the kind of things you've had to put up with as you've been developing it.
Well, sure, and part of it is just all about showing up. The invites go out, you have to actually make the effort to show up, and I found what IMA did for me more than anything else is simply expose me to the world around me of a higher level of business and thought leadership. That is really what I did. How did it do that? It wasn't a lecture in a room. It wasn't some speech. Okay, it was getting in front of certain people in certain places. And I'll give you a great example. I remember my first trip to California to go visit Sinan, and he said, Alex, we're going to go see some interesting places together. I want to show you around. So my wife and I arrived in San Francisco, and we had a romantic evening there. And the next day, we were on our way down to Google headquarters. And we got there, and I got an in-depth view of how they run things over there. It was really wonderful to see the actual, Android building with all the statues of the iterations of the versions of Android out front. At the time, it was actually a lot of fun. They were filming their version of the Harlem Shake. You remember the Harlem Shake?
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go on the YouTube and look for it, I'm standing right there behind the camera while they're filming it. It was just a different way of seeing corporate culture and seeing how they do it differently. And then I said, Sinan, where to next? And he said, next, we're going to Mark Zuckerberg's house. And I was like, okay,
wow.
Let's go. So off we go to Mark Zuckerberg's personal residence in Palo Alto. We get there, and there's helicopters flying overhead. There's people outside. Some were protesting, but I asked, okay, what's the deal here? And I learned later on that this is actually a monumental event that's happening in his house. It was when he donated, I believe it was $100 million to Governor Christie of New Jersey to help his state with education. So I was there in the same room with Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, with Governor Christie. Dr. Condoleezza Rice was there as well as some other Silicon Valley CEOs, including Drew Houston from CEO of Dropbox. And I was able to connect and spend an evening with these wonderful people, and I just became enlightened to how huge and yet how small this world can really be, and how the possibilities are truly endless. And that was a night to remember, and that was amazing because it inspired me to do greater things. Of course, that's just one of many places we've been. We've been to Ireland, where we sat in the Lord Mayor of Dublin's house. We have traveled to the Cayman Islands recently, where we met with Alden McLaughlin, the Premier of the Cayman Islands, who was so welcoming of us, as well as his staff and the people at the Cayman Enterprise City that we were able to connect with and have a fun time with in the Cayman Islands. So everything has been an adventure. Everything has been a learning experience through IMA. For me, my world has been opened very wide to people, to places, to culture, to business practices. IMA has just simply shaped and molded me, and I'm very thankful for that.
That's incredible. I mean, you did share with me a couple of photographs earlier on, and I did see you and Governor Christie arm in arm, pretty much. Of course, picture you. I also, he's a big guy. Apparently, he's on some kind of weight loss effort too. I think
he looks a little differently now. Yeah, I got his. He sent me a Christmas card, and it looks very different. Yes.
Yeah, cool, very cool. Now, I noticed you have some involvement in taking IMA to Washington, and I saw a picture of you in front of the White House, for instance. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Oh, so the Internet Marketing Association also has a connection to governments, and in Washington we have a lobbyist who has taken us there a couple of times. We've been, I think, on 2 trips in the last couple of years, and during those trips it was a very eye-opening experience because we got to sit down and meet with representatives of government, congressmen. We were able to meet with a couple of senators as well, and through this process, because a lot of us were first-timers in Washington, the goal of that was to simply educate us on how Washington works. How does somebody go and lobby for something, for a bill in Washington? How does someone represent their interests to their politicians, their local politicians, and the politicians who walk the steps of the Senate? How does that work? Well, we actually got out there to the Senate. We actually went through Capitol Hill. We were invited to the Pentagon and to the White House for several meetings. We are looking to become members of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and we had meetings for the last couple of years, getting very familiar with that. And what that did for me personally was, again, opening my eyes, just like in business, I just talked about in business, it also opened my eyes to how government works in the U.S., but as a Canadian, now I have a strategy now that I could work with our Canadian government and help them become involved with IMA and help IMA become involved with them and simply grow the network and bring business to both and make everybody prosper in the same way you did, Peter, in our event last time. You found a connection, you made it, it may lead to something great for you. I want to do that on an even larger scale. That will involve government, and government already, I can tell you, is very much involved in what I'm doing here in Canada, and I couldn't be more excited for the next year to come.
That's terrific. Absolutely. You know, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking about, I'm not suggesting for a bit there's nothing special about you, because there obviously is. I mean, but you're a typical guy, health club owner, martial arts guy, and you've converted yourself, transformed yourself into this globe-trotting, highly involved individual, giving people the benefit of your experience and of course gleaning some real value for you and your family and anyone lucky enough to be in your ecosystem. I mean, that's living proof. You're just living proof that if you put your mind to something properly and you put a purpose behind what it is you're doing, that you can achieve it. I mean, speak to me on that front. Tell me what just comes straight off the top of your head when I say that.
It's the martial arts. So it's just straight up. I've been doing this since I was 6 years old, and it's just you can't half do it when you're sparring with someone. You have to be involved. You have to put your mind. You have to have mindfulness, and that is the core. If you're not doing something that keeps you disciplined, if you don't have an activity in your life that forces you to come out of yourself and go for it, then you're going to have a hard time in business as well. Okay? Yeah. Some people don't have that discipline. They do very well in business. There are those cases. There's no, without a doubt. But for people who are trying in a competitive market, in a niche perhaps that they've been working at for a while and can't get through it, discipline will play a huge factor in your success versus failure. They call it 3 feet from goal, as one of my mentors, Corey Boatwright, would say. So he had me understand this concept is that you may be 3 feet from gold. You may not be, but you may be 3 feet from gold. And if you are, you have to keep digging with the same passion that you did when you got started. Yeah. You can't just put the shovel over your shoulder and walk back the other way.
Interestingly enough, that 3 feet from gold saying happens to be something associated with Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, which is an old book that myself and a number of people around me here are still entrenched in on a regular basis and still read and still live by some of the quotes from that famous man. That's for sure. Listen,
it's not just a good read. It's not just a good read.
Yeah, it's an amazing read.
It's a requirement.
It's a requirement. Yeah, and it's safe to paraphrase it anytime you like because it's filled with nuggets. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Alex, I just noticed the clock. I know that we're coming up against our end time, but I would like you to take a minute and tell the audience how they can get in touch with you, where they can find you, and maybe what to expect next from you as on your journey.
Absolutely. So if people want to reach to me, they can just simply email me at alex@skylightglobal.com, and I will definitely try to respond as soon as possible to those emails. On the horizon, Skylight Global is now venturing off into more product-based type of solutions, and we're looking at doing more physical goods and selling products via Amazon and via e-commerce and online that way. So taking our knowledge of marketing and applying it not just as a service to help others, but also to promote products and goods. So that's the next step for us, and we're very excited on what's in the horizon.
That's brilliant. I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure that many of our audience can't wait to see that come to fruition. Thanks again for today, Alex. It's a pleasure talking to you. And if nothing else, I hope to see you at the next IMA function.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much, Peter. I really appreciate you having me on your show.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks very much.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Journey to Success Radio. If you or anyone you know would like to be interviewed for the show, email Tom at tom2tall.com for details.